Grace and peace, everybody. We are at the halfway mark. Welcome to Advent Devotional 12. God knows how. The author of this entry in the devotional, The Glory Has Come, is Dr. Tim Sheets. Now, he's the reason I actually bought this devotional. And once I looked through the devotional, since the leading to do these morning devotional videos. Good morning, Apostle. I'm so behind on emailing you. Okay, I'll follow up. I'm so sorry. But the book that inspired me to get the devotional was a book called Planting the Heavens. It's a concept out of some scriptures in Isaiah that it is a prayer principle that we are able to plant the heavens. Hosea says that we sow to ourselves in righteousness so that we might reap in mercy. So that is the planting the heavens idea. But Dr. Sheets is featured in this devotional. So today, God knows how. Luke chapter 1, verses 37 and 38. Gabriel is talking to Mary. Not one promise from God is empty of power, for nothing is impossible with God. Then Mary responded, saying, "This is amazing. I will be a mother for the Lord. As his servant, I accept whatever he has for me. May everything you have told me come to pass." And the angel left her. So Tim Sheets makes a great point about how God specializes in the impossible and how Mary was chosen for something that had never been done before. And he makes a parallel here, especially for those of us who have this need to know. Those of us who feel like I can't obey God unless I have more details. I'm in a fog and I can't obey God without clarity. And he makes a reference to Mary. It says Gabriel introduced himself to Mary, speaking words that would surprise anybody. You've been chosen to give birth to the Son of God. Here's the principle. God has a plan for each of us individually that we know nothing about. God has a plan that we know nothing about, but in which the Holy Ghost and the angels are engaged. And he does if you purchase anything by Tim Sheets, he does a lot of word study, which I love. And he takes us to the verse, with God, nothing is impossible. The word nothing here is the Greek word rhema, which speaks of a word of promise. Rhema, a word God gives us through our pursuit of a personal relationship with him. And he makes a case for meditating on the word, for pondering on the word, for spending time with God, because the translation of what Gabriel says to her is, nothing that God promises you is impossible. And so it comes through spending time in the presence of God. It comes through praying and declaring and laying hold of what has been released to us and saying it until it gets in our heart, saying it until it is born in our hearts. And then he deals with the word impossible. In the original Greek means impotence, weakness, or inability to produce. So when we put that together, nothing that God promises is too weak to be accomplished. Nothing that God promises is without power to produce. Everything he speaks to us has the power to produce. I know, me too. And then he gets to the title, the theme of his devotional, that from the presence of God, the angel Gabriel reveals what all humankind needs to hear. God knows how. God knows how to untangle things. He knows how to solve mysteries. He knows how to activate a miracle. He knows how to heal. With humans, it may be impossible, but with God, all things are possible. Mary found herself in an unbelievable situation, And if anything ever appeared to be impossible, giving birth to the Son of God was it. It kind of puts things in perspective, doesn't it? And so God made promises that were going to happen to Mary, and there was nothing she could do to bring them to pass. It was all up to God. And so Advent even comes for those of us with control issues. Advent comes for those of us who have to have a plan, who have to have a strategy, who cannot follow God without step-by-step instructions. And we know that as we grow in grace and as we grow in our knowledge of God, sometimes our promotions look like trust. Sometimes our promotions are our elevations in God, our testing, our growth in faith looks like gaps in understanding. All Mary could do was submit to God's plan and trust Him. That's all Mary could do. What incredible faith it took. Mary believed, don't miss this, Mary believed that something that had never happened would happen. Her heart declared, I believe your word. I trust your promise to me. In Luke 1:38, she says, I am the Lord's servant. May everything you've said about me come true. Mary was saying, this is not possible, but with you, God, it is possible. And Dr. Sheets makes an appeal. Many of us have difficulty trusting God, even when we hear testimony after testimony of the things that God has done. And Mary's task here is greater than that. She's being charged with something that has never been done. And she trusts God. And so I have to pause here and ask us, who told us? Where did we fall prey to unbelief? Where did we decide God can only make a thing happen if we have the details? Where did we decide? Where did we learn? Where did we pick up this bad information that God, there can only be manifestation if I know the details? There can only be fulfillment of the promise if I know how it's going to happen. Mary believed that something that would never happen could happen. And so for those of us who think we're too old, for those of us who think we're bound by time, that we're bound by human limitations and fleshly or carnal constraints, the Advent comes to remind us that God deals in the impossible. God specializes in the impossible. The Christmas story reveals that there are times when life is not going to turn out how we thought. Situations we cannot control start controlling us, and we need hope, strength, and peace that only God can give. How can the mountain move? How can the complicated situation change? How can things be turned and what seems like a burden become a blessing? Tim Sheets says it can happen because God knows how. Here's the reflection. Mary heard that answer, and it's one we need to hear as well. It's been tested and proven through the ages. The answer is God knows how. He knows how to do what we cannot. He knows how to make happen what we cannot. What's impossible with us, He knows how to do. He knows how to do miracles. He knows how to change our lives forever and bring forth a new destiny and purpose, just like He did for Mary. He knows how to give victory when we cannot see how. He knows how to provide, how to promote, how to restore. He knows how to bless, how to deliver, how to save, how to open doors, how to protect us, how to prosper us. He knows how to make a way when we can't even see a way. And when it's something that hasn't been done before, as in Mary's case, God knows how. He's the one who has done 1,000,000 firsts. Isn't that something? God knows how to do it. And there should be a comfort in that for the believer. There should be a rest in that for the disciple of Jesus Christ, that there are things that we really will not know the details about, and we cannot be hindered by our lack of intel, and we cannot be tricked by this teaching out there that when prophecy shows up, or that when angelic visitation shows up, the only purpose is confirmation. Mary is proof that that is not true. God may come to us and ask us to do something that has never been done in our family, something that has never been done in our frame of reference, something that in our mind has created a glass ceiling over our lives. But then he will give us the task. And when he does it, that means he has the intent for it to happen. We tend to approach the prophetic word as God's guarantee, and then we sit back and cross our arms, and then we say God's going to do it. But that's not faith. Faith is getting engaged with that word. Faith is laying hold of that word. Faith has an accompanying work that says, God, I believe that word. And when that situation is bigger than us, sometimes the work is just staying engaged, staying in faith, staying in belief, staying in trust in God, that I have no control in my human ability to make it happen, but God can make it happen. 2 Corinthians 9 and 8, God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that having all sufficiency in all things, you will abound to every good work. And so that's the encouragement today, that the power of Advent, the strength of Advent deals in the impossible. Advent calls us into a storyline of moving parts, a storyline of events where there are things that we can't even conceive of. Who would think leaving our house for a trip that's going to take us 2 years to get there? I mean, think of the expense. Think of all the inconveniences. Think of all the things that would not even work for us today. But God had people who took it on, who understood what he was saying, and they went with it. So that's my encouragement today. Go with it. Go with God in this time of Advent. Go with it. Go with it. It is possible that the word you heard, that you have never heard before, that has never crept into your prayer time, that has never been revealed during worship, that is God. It's possible. It's possible. So I want us to be encouraged in knowing that God knows how. He is the one who has done 1,000,000 firsts. So what is he asking you to do? What has he given you to do? What has he put in your hands? What is the part of your calling right now that you should be doing, that you should be working? And you're just looking at the rest of us telling us what God said. I love y'all. I do. Let this devotional serve as fuel. Let it serve as a good push in the back to get you moving again and doing what he gave you to do. All right? God knows how. Y'all have a good day.